Since the beginning of the 21st century, farming, building, and just cozy sims in general have been hugely popular within the gaming space. Stardew Valley is the most recent and most successful example of this, and is universally beloved for what it offers. A cozy environment, chill and relaxed gameplay, and tons of good vibes. Well, Pumpkin Panic is a more recent game that's exactly like that! For the first 90 seconds, because as soon as you get past the initial ultra minimalistic tutorial, you're gonna get jump scared to hell by a skinwalker, terrorized by killer clowns, stalked by a demonic deer, and if horror games just aren't your thing, well, you've been warned, because that's exactly what Pumpkin Panic actually is, a survival horror game wrapped in the skin of a farming sim, which is also then wrapped in a weirdly creepy aesthetic. So Pumpkin Panic is a farming simulator if your farm was straight out of Courage the Cowardly Dog and your goal was to make enough money to get the hell out, instead of actually making it successful. When you first start up the game, things actually seem quite nice. You've got this cool little cabin in the middle of your property, a chill talking crow telling you how to get started on your farm, and you've got a bunch of land to plant your crops and wait for the profits. But the second you reach about a minute and 30 seconds into your run, you're going to get greeted by this fine gentleman. Doesn't he look dapper? There's zero explanation, zero guidance, and zero warning other than the vague speech bubble from the crow saying you should get inside. Because if you don't, you're going to be ripped apart faster than gifts on Christmas morning. If you can get your house in time to wait out the Resident Evil liquor wannabe, then congratulations. You've just survived the first of several horrors that this farm presents. Once you hear the most cliche horror movie sound effect of all time, you know that the skinwalker's given up and has chosen to hunt somewhere else. At this point, you can head back outside to start your farming once again. Plant the seeds, run to the well, water the seeds. Back and forth, unlock more land and seeds from your magical table inside your house that somehow sells everything that you need. Hey, but you're not paid to ask questions. For every crop that grows to full size, you can get to harvest and sell for gold coins, which are the key to your real objective in Pumpkin Panic, getting the hell out. Because at the bottom of your map, you'll find a dock with a boat. That's got some busted parts, and if you're paying attention to everything in that magic table, you'll probably notice the gears for sale for about 800 gold a pop. What you want to do on the farm is harvest and sell your crops until you can scrap together enough coins to buy 4 of those bad boys, use them to fix up your boat, and sail off into the sunset. Of course, with the added struggle of staying alive and, you know, the monsters. Once you reach nighttime in the game, the horror really kicks it up a notch, because suddenly the only part of the screen that you can see is a small circle. Around you, illuminated by the world's weakest handheld lantern. Now you might be wondering, why can't I just stick around inside the house and wait for night to end? Well, you could do that, but the game's gonna let you know you're not as clever as you think you are, because if you've had your eyes peeled, you'll notice that there are 3 candles right next to your bed, and they're not always lit. See, one of those goes out every 20 seconds that you stay inside. And when all 3 of them go out, you're gonna see Casper's evil cousin crawl out from under the bed and punch you to an early grave, which I'm fairly certain you'll want to avoid. From a gameplay perspective, it's a great way to make sure that you can't abuse the save zone and you're actually there to play the game the way the game was intended. Especially since the ghost can't leave the cabin, so that's the only thing he really does. So you're out in the darkness, fearing for your pumpkin-headed avatar's life as the skinwalker makes its rounds the property and your field of vision is significantly limited. At this point, though, you're gonna feel like you've got a hang of things since you can recognize the skinwalker's audio cue pretty well, so of course the game's going to whack you over the head with a new one in the form of an eerie music box that's completely unrelated to the skinwalker. See, this audio is actually a guide. If you follow it all the way to its source, you'll meet Ronald McDonald, who's really let himself go. What you need to do is yank the balloon out of his hand and Wait for the next audio cue to find his even more depressed twin brother, Pennywise. Why? Because the joy of getting that balloon is the only thing stopping him from going full psycho and eating your ass. And not in the fun way either. If you try to hide from him in your house, then good luck, because Pennyboy actually has opposable thumbs, which means he can open your door and step on you. There is no hiding from this balloon-depraved wacko. If you've done everything right at this point, that means you've delivered that balloon, avoided the man-eating zombie thing, and collected enough money to reinvest into your farm and unlocked more slots so you can make more money. Which you're gonna want to do as soon as you can, because the tutorial farm area is getting way too small for a decent profit. Beyond this, you'll have noticed two very important things if you've been keeping an eye out. First, the leaves and sticks lying around the place, which you can pick up to build a fishing rod. And this is going to be very integral because you can set the fishing rod on the docks and wait for it to catch fish passively while you manage your farm. See, the fish, for some reason, bring an ungodly amount of money. You'll want to get that rod up as early as you can. Then there's number 2, the signs, which say in very clear terms that you should not feed the deer. Enter the game's most dangerous hostile creature. The Wendeergo, if you decide to ignore the signs and get within 2 feet of this cute little Bambi cosplayer, it will shift into a massive furry predator and start hunting you down. And unlike everything else so far, this enemy is way faster than your pumpkin-headed farmer, so don't try and outrun it unless you're right next to your house, because this fella's inability to break through that door is its only weakness. At this point, you've got the 2 constant stalkers, the Skinwalker and the Wendigo. The ever-present threat of balloon-loving horror movie rejects that spawn every night, and the shadow from the Upside Down squatting under your bed without paying rent. Oh, and the well monster, but that thing's just there to spook you when you need water in the middle of the night. It doesn't actually do anything. In order to get through this nightmare, you'll have to memorize each of their patterns, lock in like your life depends on it, and farm the hell out of your crops. Finally, you'll have enough gold to buy all 4 gears, feed them into your boat's self-repair box, because of course that's a thing, and leave, all without ever getting any answers about what the hell that was, because there is no lore, no discernible story, no explanation for anything in this game. But it actually does itself a big favor, building an eerie and mysterious atmosphere that makes Pumpkin Panic so uniquely enjoyable. Instead of trying to figure out why you're on the farm with a bunch of eldritch monsters, and why there's a busted boat at the docks waiting for you to chunk some gears into it, you could just focus on the enjoyable spooky vibes and exploiting agricultural capitalism, which is probably for the best, because you'll have to really enjoy the base game to want to jump back into the new mode that's added after. Oh yeah, escaping the farm and sailing to freedom is only the beginning, because the real nightmare mode reveals you've been teleported right back to the farm. Like you're stuck in Groundhog's Day, because outside your house, right below the central farming area, there's now a pumpkin-headed scarecrow with a literal stick up its ass. And as soon as you walk over to it, this thing's gonna let you know that he's very annoyed with your attempt to escape in normal mode. So much so that he's teleported you back and ordered his pet Kraken to hold your boat down so you can't do that again. Escape is no longer on the table like it was in normal mode. At least not until you complete a bunch of challenges the Pumpkinhead gives you first, because while you're still given no real explanation, the vibes of the whole situation and the way the pumpkin talks makes it very clear that this is some kind of demonic authority that has power over the land the farm is built on, and going to use it to ruin you. Now, if you thought the base game was hard, this one's an absolute nightmare. I'm so sorry, I'll see myself out. Anyways, remember all the creepy crawlies from before that made the farm feel like a death trap? Well, go ahead and dial that up to 11, because the Skinwalker's warning sound plays mere seconds before it finds you, the Wendeergo, accompanied by its albino twin who's even faster than the original, and the clowns, well, they're still mostly the same. The real difficulty spikes comes from the Pumpkin Scarecrow's challenges, which have you running all over the farm collecting wandering souls from a demonic entity, as well as shiny coins and a bunch of other knickknacks, all while trying to avoid the sped up Skinwalker and 2 different types of Wendeergos. But it's not all doom and gloom, because alongside the Nightmare Mode update, the game's big update gives you 4 different pets to recruit on your mission. There's a frog that gives you water storage, a crow that randomly drops shiny coins to sacrifice to the Pumpkinhead, a bat that warns you when the Wendeergos are close, and a possum that raises your stamina recovery speed so you can run more. If you can manage to catch all these pets and use them at the right time, it'll make Nightmare Mode run a bit more manageable. But make no mistake, this is going to suck for your blood pressure, especially since you have to juggle Pumpkinhead's challenges while managing the farm at the same time, because you still need to buy the gears to fix up the boat all over again. At the end, the only real reward is a bunch of lore notes adding a bit of info to each creature in the game. Well, actually, managing to escape this time, though the pumpkin only knows if this escape was legit or another chapter to the story.